some dare call it conspiracy, with Brent Lee and Neil Sanders. This is Pizzagate, episode 6, with our guest, Joel Hill, from the Conditional Release Program podcast.
So where it's all started is Weiner's laptop. Now, in as much as basically Anthony Weiner was definitely sending pics of his penis and various other things to, like, for example, in one instance, a 15-year-old girl. The stuff that he's doing is despicable. It's totally beyond the pale.
So bad. Yes.
The problem with this was that in itself should have been enough, right? Okay, yeah. He's despicable. But what happened was his wife immediately divorced him, and Hillary basically just disavowed him. Yeah. And so it was very, very difficult to try and link that stuff to Hillary.
Exactly. You can't milk it.
Well, I mean, there was an angle that they could have milked it, because they could have said, basically, look, you've known about this for a few years, Humour Aberdeen, and you kept letting him off and letting him off and letting him off. If they wanted to be particularly cruel, they could have even gone down the angle that she's enabled him and that he wouldn't have done his children-y type stuff if it wasn't for the fact that she'd let him get away with it in the past.
She allowed it. Yeah. Interesting angle. Interesting.
It's a horrible angle, right? Okay, it's not true, but that could have been the angle that they decided to go. But I don't think that was sexy enough for the conspiracy crowd. So this is why you get in the subject politics, which is the first time that we see it. So, well, actually, the first times we're seeing it is those people are just spreading it anonymously on the internet, your 4chaners and stuff like that. This David Goldberg and this Carmen Katz, like they don't know anything. They're just making stuff up. Ask Me Anything with this FBI agent in October, basically saying, "Oh yeah, no, they're all involved with kidnapped girls." It is somebody making it up, but again, it feeds into that previous David Icke stuff. This is one of those things where people would go, "I can believe that. I can totally believe that," because it's the sort of thing that we've been told about before. Now, when it starts getting onto this raid, so initially what they start saying is that Hillary Clinton's house has been raided. The first one to show this was this subject politics, and it shows that, if you remember, I was saying that there's a picture of the two NYPD detectives supposedly coming out of Hillary Clinton's house with a big bag of evidence, and this is the following her house being raided. Her house was never raided. Unfortunately, the entire story was completely made up. Now, the picture of the two policemen was actually taken from an article in 2015 where a pregnant lady was stabbed to death in her own apartment. So they've just essentially lifted this picture and just reappropriated it. Absolutely. But it's very obvious from the subject politics and the later True Pundit article where they're saying the NYPD sources are talking about the sex crimes with minors and stuff like that. This is kind of based on the accumulation of those two Twitter accounts and the AMA, but essentially it's all made up. Even the stuff that basically where they're saying that Hillary Clinton was with Epstein 6 times and Bill Clinton was with Epstein 20 times, there's a grain of truth to that, as in basically Bill Clinton has been spotted at the island by Virginia Giuffre, that he definitely used the Lolita Express to transport him to various places. Whether that's proof of his involvement in child sex, no, and the amount of times that they state there is greatly exaggerated. Also, I don't think we found that Hillary Clinton had been to the island or used Epstein's plane, did we?
I've never heard that before tonight.
Yeah, nothing to do with that, at least in our episode.
Yeah, so again, this is a fairly obvious smear campaign. And then we can see that basically this is the point. So November the 2nd, when InfoWars is happening and Doug Hagman's on there, this is after it's been spread by Your Newswire. It's an expansion of the same story, isn't it? Basically, that is Clinton and child sex and stuff like that. So the first time that InfoWars mentions it is basically, your standard Hillary Clinton's a Chinese agent. Look at her. She's wearing these 50s Maoist suits. I mean, to be fair, he said worse things about Hillary Clinton, that she smells of sulfur because she's a demon and things of that nature. Like, he spread the rumor that she got the Kuro disease, which is the disease that cannibals get from eating human brains.
God,
that was another one that was floating around about the same time. Yeah. But anyway,
there's something that does my head in every like election season. Both sides act like the candidate is somehow desperately ill and is about to die.
Yes.
They were doing it with Trump. They were doing it with Hillary. They do it with Biden.
Yeah.
They were doing it over here with like Boris.
He's saying that he's alcoholic and he's going to need drying out, etc., etc.
They couldn't do it with Obama, though, because he's sexy as fuck. But yeah, I mean, like everything else is an exception to rule, you know.
Well, this is it. This is why they had to say that he was an Arab, a Muslim, like. And it's like
yes, exactly. Yeah, Barack Hussein Obama in a madrasa.
Yeah, or that he was born in Kenya.
Yeah,
like,
or even at like the beginning of the Ukraine war, there was a lot of talk about Putin.
Yeah,
like he was about to die.
Really interesting. He'll live forever.
Well, this is. I mean, that's still an ongoing rumor. That suggests what has been said in the media in the UK, particularly, is that he's got some sort of terminal cancer and or Parkinson's disease, and therefore he's taking steroids in order to sort of combat this. That explains both his erratic behaviour and his puffy facial appearance.
Yeah.
Whether this is true or not, it's pure speculation.
It's Bolsonaro who's I'm worried about. Bolsonaro seems to shit out of his mouth more than his ass. So, I mean, you know.
Oh, he's such a terrible person, Bolsonaro. Absolutely.
He's a concern. I love how terrible his life is, though. It sounds like he's this like horrible tyrant who's plagued by the fact that continually his intestines betray him to the point where he has to basically just regurgitate poo and live in hospital hotel rooms. I mean, fuck that guy entirely, but I like the way that Karma's dealt real justice to that guy. His life sucks.
So InfoWars. So the first time that actually InfoWars talk about this is with Doug Hagman, as we say, of the Hagman Report. And you can see through that conversation that basically they're kind of sort of egging each other on to see that their stories match. But Alex has apparently got an insider informant. He's got an FBI informant and an NYPD informant. And the FBI is extremely tense because you've got all this espionage and, you know, Humour Aberdeen's, let's not forget, foreign relatives might have got access to some sort of documentation or something. But basically it's Alex going, you know, I was told it's ties with the Lolita Express. Is that where you're about to go? And the big sort of suggestion off the back of this is that, yes, this is what is on Wiener's laptop, that Wiener was a pimp for Epstein and that Hillary was going to the island with Humour Aberdeen again and again and again. And it's very, very simple, basically. None of this is true. It's all just a very, very transparent attempt to smear Hillary Clinton, essentially. You know, it's just coming up to the election. You've got a lot of swing voters, essentially. And it's like you're saying, when they say everyone's ill, they'll just try anything to discredit the opponent. And anything that would make you think, oh, I don't want to vote for that. Like, you know, it says here that Hillary Clinton's a paedophile. Like, but I do admire her stance on the economy. So
I like her Maoist suits.
Exactly. So, you know, it just gives you different things to weigh up. What's interesting is that they're all obviously cribbing from each other's notes, because Doug Hagman mentions 656,000 emails. And then the following day, the Eric Prince article that came out in Breitbart that describes money laundering, trips to the sex island with convicted paedophile Jeffrey Epstein, also describes 650,000 emails. Now, where they've got this number from, I've got absolutely no idea. They appear to just plucked it out of thin air. I think in the end, it discovered that there was about 33,000 emails on this server that were sort of misappropriated. Still an awful lot. All right, okay, but I don't know where they've got this 656,000. But basically, the Eric Prince article says that, you know, Wiener and Humour Aberdeen had flipped. They were both cooperating with the government about this child sex thing. Well, that's obviously not true, is it? So Eric Prince has just made that up again. this is the strange thing, because at this point, Pizzagate hasn't even developed. I don't think they've even got a coherent plan. I think essentially it's just people who would prefer Donald Trump to get in, saying whatever wild shit they can about Hillary Clinton. The Wiener laptop thing is real. And then somebody's basically gone, well, off the back of that, if we suggest that she's tied to this and that she's been raided and that she's been investigated, and then people's imaginations have just got away with them, to be quite honest. Then, we've got Jared Wyand with the code. So hot dog equals boy, pizza equals girl, cheese equals little girl, pasta equals little boy, ice cream equals male prostitute, etc., etc., etc. Now, there is something that's a bit wrong with this code that I spotted straight away, actually, when it first came out, and got a lot of shit in 2016 for pointing this out to people.
Yeah, because you were actually talking about it at the time, weren't you?
Yeah. When I was still interested in this type of thing and would give okay, fair enough. Even at the time, I pointed out something very, very simple about the code. It doesn't work. It doesn't work as a code, right? If you take any of them, right, okay, any of these emails, right, okay, and do the sort of the cross it over, it means absolutely nothing. It really means completely nothing. Right, so what is it? So pizza is girl, map is semen. Hi, John. The realtor found a handkerchief. I think it has a semen that seems girl-related. Is it yours? This is what's so crazy about this whole thing. I mean, it was so clearly just made up by this bloke Jared Wyand, because he posted it on two places simultaneously. He's not worked it out, otherwise he would have shown he's working. He's just gone, this will be funny, throw this at the wall and hope that people then notice these things and go, well, that can't mean that, can it? It's got to mean this.
Do the email with the oblong box.
Oh, here
with selection of cheeses or whatever. Do that one. Tell me what that one sounds like.
Right. So, Mary and John, I think you should give notice when changing strategies which have been long in place. I immediately realised something was different by the shape of the box, and I contemplated who would be sending me something in a square box. Lo and behold, instead of little boy and wonderful orgies, it was a loveling, tempting assortment of little girls. Yummy. I'm awaiting the return of my children and grandchildren from their holiday travels so that we can demolish them. Thank you so much. I hope your gang are well. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work. It doesn't even begin to make...
It never works.
No, it doesn't. Unless, okay, we've not gone to the emails yet, but has anybody noticed of this 656,000 emails, people only found less than 10 that were suspicious? And they're only suspicious if you apply this code, which doesn't work.
I'm going to say right now that I deal with, in various ways, shapes, forms, boomer emails. And I've seen the way that they write. They use their two fingers. They skip words inexplicably. I don't call them out on these things, but there are people who I consider otherwise incredibly intelligent, sometimes movers and shakers in the world, because I know a few people. And I tell you what, their emails are shit. They don't make any fucking sense. And you can extrapolate from them, but they don't make any fucking sense.
Yeah, this is absolutely 100% true. And then, you say you take out the punctuation and stuff like that, and, people writing it quickly, and they're only writing to mate, so it doesn't matter if it's misspelled.
The keyboard just befuddles them, especially on a phone. Oh, my God, don't get me started on boomers on phones. Jesus Christ.
I'm pretty bad myself, to be quite honest. But...
I can attest to that.
Anyway... So, the next sort of mention of it is General Michael Flynn's sending out that article with spirit cooking, and Paul Joseph Watson is letting the world know what spirit cooking is. Now, he starts off with the picture that they all use, which is of Marina Abramovich holding the goat skull. And this is from a Vogue magazine shoot. It's from 2014, and it was an anti-war statement. It was about the Ukraine-Russia conflict. I may be wrong about that, but I think it was
Crimea.
Yeah, and this is it. It's just an anti-war statement. It's just basically saying, look, war brings death. That's what it brings. So the Clinton campaign chairman was invited to a spirit cooking dinner by performance artist Marina Abramovich to take part in an occult ritual founded by Satanist Aleister Crowley. I'm looking forward to the spirit cooking dinner at my place. Do you think your brother will be joining us? There's several things with this, right? Okay. One, Aleister Crowley was not a Satanist, right? Okay. He's often sort of represented or mislabeled as a Satanist. He was an occultist. He was interested in ritual magic, and he was also a plethora of very different things. He's a fascinating guy, actually. But is this spirit cooking actually connected to Thelema? Kind of. But it's basically like what the spirit cooking thing is it's just an art thing. It's literally it's silly recipes. I mean, we read it out earlier. It's stuff like, eat 9 red peppers facing the wall, fresh morning urine sprinkling over nightmare dreams. People might have noticed that, some of those things, they're not real. They're abstract concepts. Right, okay.
They're not things you can actually cook with.
No, they're not. But she did at this what she calls a spirit cooking dinner. What she does is she makes a soup and a golden ball. Now, this isn't an Aleister Crowley thing by any stretch of the imagination. It's actually a Tibetan monk thing. And basically, this recipe has 7 almonds, 3 coriander seeds, 2 black peppercorns, 1 white peppercorn, honey, and this is all ground together and then served in a little parcel that is made out of a 24-carat gold leaf. And that's where they get the connection to Aleister Crowley, but it's not. It's basically, for example, James Westcott, who's her biographer, says this: even a cursory Google reveals the panoply of religious practices Abramovich has experimented with, from Christian to Buddhist, Hindu, Australian Aboriginal, but more than that, the spirit in which she does all this is pretty blatant. The more serious she seems, actually, the more playful she is. It's ironic that conspiracy theorists who claim to be able to see through surface illusions of society take so literally and superficially one tiny component of a highly theatrical artist's massive body of work and don't dig deep enough to see how unserious it clearly is.
That is amazing. That is an amazing quote.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true as well. Wow.
Yeah, no, totally. For example, like the picture that they've used of her on a pile of bloody cow bones, which is called Balkan Baroque. The people say that it's Satanist, but it's not. Again, it's anti-war. What she did was she sat on this pile of bones and started to try and clean them. Now, obviously, the cleaner that she gets these bones, you can't clean bones with soap and water. And all you do is transfer the blood onto yourself, so your hands are bloody. It's a commentary on war, how nobody comes out of this clean, and how it just proliferates death and mess, essentially. So, is spirit cooking Thelemic? Is it Aleister Crowley? Well, the short answer is no. So Paul Joseph Watson and others they've noted the similarity between a recipe of blood and sperm to a Crowleyan sacrament called cakes of light. Now, cakes of light is apparently a Eucharist for ceremonies. Okay. And this is written from Liber ABA, or Magic Book 4 by Crowley. He said, a Eucharist of some sort should most assuredly be consummated daily by every magician, and he should regard it as the main substance of his magical life. It is more important than any other magical ceremony because it is a complete circle. The whole of the force expanded is completely reabsorbed, yet the virtue is that vast gain represented by the abyss between man and God. The magician becomes filled with God, fed upon God, intoxicated with God, and little by little his body will become purified by the internal lustration of God. Day by day, his mortal frame, shedding its earthly elements, will become in truth the temple of the Holy Ghost. Day by day, matter is replaced by spirit, the human, the divine. Ultimately, the change will be complete. God manifest in flesh will be his name. So, basically, cakes of light are used in this ritual called the Mass of the Phoenix. One's burnt, one is put to a wound on the body, and then once the blood's absorbed into it, you eat it. And they're essentially used as like a wafer. So, the Eucharist is sort of like
wafer,
yeah, exactly. And it's in 2 ceremonies, the Gnostic Mass and the Mass of the Phoenix. And in the Book of the Law, they're never mentioned by name, but this is considered to be the cakes of light recipe. For perfume, mix meal and honey and thick leavings of red wine, then oil of abramelon and olive oil, and afterwards sow often and smooth with fresh blood. The best blood is of the moon monthly, then the fresh blood of a child, or dropping from the host of heaven, then of enemies, then of a priest, or the worshippers, last of some beast, no matter what. And in Magic in Theory and Practice, he says, cakes of light are universally applicable. They contain meal, honey, and oil, carbs, fats, and proteins, the three necessities of human nutrition. Also, the perfume of three essential types of magical and curative virtue. The subtle principle of animal life itself is fixed in them by the introduction of fresh living blood. So, literally the only possible connection, because say what she does is she gives this Tibetan golden ball that's got honey in it at these spirit cooking meals. Basically, the only connection is that sperm. She mentions sperm in the poem, and this sperm sometimes in these Aleister Crowley cakes. Other than that, there is literally no connection. And it transpires that these spirit cooking things were actually there were dinners that were attended by people who were giving money to her art installation. It was a theme. They knew what they were going along for. It's just a way of basically entering into a discussion about her work. It's nothing to do with a ritual. There's no sperm involved. There's no blood involved. There's a honey cake with 24 karat gold leaf. And that's literally it, basically. Now, if you remember that there was an email that showed that Laura Silsby, the missionary who was jailed for 6 months after her organisation attempted to smuggle children, and Humour Aberdeen was sending emails about this and articles about this to Hillary Clinton, and people thought that was particularly strange. Well, not if you find out who was the UN relief coordinator helping the NLCR and the Haitian government come to a conclusion with this. It was Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was the ambassador to the UN for this particular case because he was seen as a statesman that could represent American politics whilst also being seen as what's the word that I'm looking for?
Diplomatic.
Thank you. That's the word that I'm looking for. Yeah, exactly. And so basically, that's why she's being told about it, because her husband's involved in this. It's nothing sinister. It doesn't show that they're actually sticking up for these people at all. You know, it's just a very, very vague connection. And again, just to reiterate, Marina Abramovich herself, when asked about spirit cooking, seemed a bit sort of like confused that people would take it seriously at all. She says, you're not supposed to do these things. It's just poetry.
What's eating pain?
Yeah, precisely. But as I say, they tried to connect it to Aleister Crowley, and it really, really just isn't. So let's have a look at these emails then, because this is where the meat is, so to speak.
It's how you peeled me.
Well, I mean, again, this is the point. If you present it in a certain way, it seems to hold more weight than it does. It's only when you sort of like apply like close scrutiny to them that they start to be a bit silly, right? So this one, the main one from Tamara Lazazzo, where she's saying, we plan to heat the pool, love to get you out of the farm in Lovettsville, and Ruby, Emerson, Maeve Lazazzo, 11, 9, almost 7 will be there, so you'll have some further entertainment, and they will be in the pool for sure. What's that all about? Well, bizarrely, the person who debunked this was David Seaman, who was one of the people who actually sort of promoted it. And this was in his video 5 years later. I'm not convinced we got this wrong. He founds a website that's called Grand Tam, and it's got this woman who was Hillary's chief of staff for about 8 years. And on this website, there's all her grandkids. And she calls herself Grand Tam, like grandmother, Grand Tamara, Grand Tam. Now, her granddaughters on one side are Maeve, Ruby, and Emerson. These are her granddaughters. So what are they doing in the pool? Well, she's chief of staff. Now, at that time, I think it was 2015, but I may have got this completely wrong. There was a fundraiser event that was held at her farmhouse. She has this really rather elaborate farmhouse, and this was a big venue, and they could have a fundraising event there. She wasn't really involved in it. She was just providing the venue. Tony Podesta was to turn up and do whatever it is that you do at these fundraising things. The only thing was, because she's a grandma, she was also looking after 3 of her, I think she's got about 6 or 8.
Yeah.
She's looking after 3 of her grandchildren, which are Ruby, Maeve, and Emerson. And exactly as you said, Joel, Boomer text, oh, so there'll be some entertainment, which is basically saying, well, the kids will be there, so, that'll be fun.
That's exactly what my mother-in-law would say if she was babysitting the grandkids.
Yeah.
She would say, oh, we're going to the caravan, taking both the grandkids. It's going to be highly entertaining.
Yeah.
It's just what they're going to say, aren't they?
Yeah.
Why are they heating the swimming pool? Because it's cold.
Yeah, they said that it was cold.
Yeah.
There's another thing, though, here with this email that it just rings a bell here, because you said about Alex Jones, like talking about this email, and he kept saying the ages were 6, 7, and 8. Right? So he's got the ages completely wrong, because it's 11, 9, and 7.
Yeah.
However, 11, 9, 9, 11.
Oh!
Yeah. 7 also being like a very...
Well, they're magic numbers was what I was going for.
Yeah, exactly. 11, 9, and 7. These are magic numbers. How did he miss that? Why does he keep saying the wrong ages?
Because they're shit at conspiracy theories. That's the most annoying thing.
That's right. They are so shit. They are so shit. Honestly, guys, we could make millions on the grift if we just decided to change sides and pill the entire world. We would smash this.
I know. This is what's so strange is when we go past over these, with these ones that would be more compelling, like the Bohemian Grove Owl thing, and they just miss it. But hey ho, what can you do?
They do. They glide straight over it, and even then, they still get millions of adherents. I don't know fucking how.
No. Now, the next one, email is the one from Susan Sandler, basically asking if he's left his handkerchief there. And again, it's only sinister if you don't apply the code and think that something's sinister. He's left his handkerchief somewhere. But then he basically says it's mine, but not worth worrying about in the response. So, it really isn't that big of a deal. As we say, if you apply the code, if it was something like, "Hi, John, I couldn't help that that you left a handkerchief covering a dead pizza. Is it yours?" If the email said that, I'd be like, "All right, yeah, that's unusual."
That would be problematic.
but it's not. It doesn't say that. The code doesn't actually work.
It doesn't work. You're right.
Going on to the ones again, Susan whipped Sherry and me at Domino's using the Podesta method. She made up the rules. What is it about you that makes you such a big hit with Susan, Steve and Sherry? And now you've added the Podestas. Every time I see you, I get lowered in the rankings. We did have a great time. Incidentally, we really liked your daughter. She has a special quality. Now, people are inferring that basically they're saying, cool, by the way, if your saucy daughter comes around next time, we wouldn't half mind incorporating her into our sex festival. But what's more likely is that it's just a fairly innocuous email basically saying, daughter's lovely, by the way. In the way that people do when you get to a certain age.
People do.
Yeah.
This is so standard. People fucking do.
Compliment people's kids. Your daughter's very pretty. Oh, she's very intelligent. Wow, your son's, look at him, great big handsome hunk of a fellow or whatever. It's just what people say.
I'm gonna level with you guys. I can't stand kids. I try and fake it. I got a few kids in my life I have to be really nice with, and I love them dearly in regard to them just being a part of my life, part of my family. But I'm not a kid person. I can't wait till they're teenagers. We're gonna talk shop. I'm gonna teach them how to make bongs. It's gonna be great.
Yes.
But we have to play games. We have to play games, and those games are games. They have rules and weird things about them. Sometimes I don't understand them, and to be honest, sometimes I find them befuddling.
Yes.
But that doesn't mean it's pedophilia.
No.
It just means we're playing fucking games.
Precisely.
Psychotic fucks. Jesus Christ.
Well, this is it. And again, a good example of this is the John to Tony Podesta, are you free for dinner? Mary's not free, but I'd love to get pizza for an hour or come over. And it's like, people have said, well, who gets pizza for an hour? It's like, well, lots of people, if they've got an hour free.
How long do you eat pizza for?
Like, well, that was my next point. It was like, yeah, how long do you need? How big is this fucking pizza? Like,
I've literally sent a message to someone the other day, and it said, we can go get coffee for an hour.
Yeah. It's a turn of phrase.
That's because they're just saying, we can get coffee, and I have an hour. Like, not that we're going to sit there and drink coffee for 1 whole hour, or is it a code?
You don't turn into a pumpkin at 59 either, do you? Like, this is the point. It's like, it's just an expression. So, going on to the next email, which is the shape of the box thing. What's clearly happened there is that they've sent them some pastas, but instead they've sent them cheeses. Now, it's been established that the Podestas, they're foodie types. They send like food parcels and hampers out as gifts. And they're also known for having people round to try new, crazy, exotic recipes. John Podesta's into food. Tony Podesta's into art and pizza. That's what they're interested in. They're perfectly allowed to be doing that.
It's like the liberal elite does like move in that foodie circle.
Yeah.
That's where Anthony Bourdain will come back in. Yeah.
Yes, that's exactly
absolutely.
It, yeah.
So the assortment of cheese is yummy. That's seen as like suspicious. Oh, come on. Like, they're saying yummy. That's sort of the point of people using yummy as a phrase to say somebody, so delicious I could eat them. It's how words work. It's not an indication of a child sex ring.
That's so true.
I'm waiting for my children, the return of my children and grandchildren from the holiday travels, so that we can demolish them. They're talking about the cheese. They're not talking about demolishing the children in some sort of particularly rough sex act. Like, it's,
I was waiting for that one.
Yeah,
that's ridiculous.
Yes. And then the next bit, which is, do you think I'll do better playing dominoes on cheese than on pizza? Well, again, if you apply the code, it doesn't make sense. But what does make sense is, again, that it's a rather boomer type joke of going, all this cheese, it's impaired me from playing dominoes. I'm so full of pizza, I can't play dominoes with you.
Especially if there was some dumb thing where, like, maybe one night had a cheese night and they lost dominoes at some point.
Yeah.
And some joke between them, it's like, when I've been eating cheese, I'm bad at dominoes. But then that night I ate pizza, I was fantastic. I mean, like, this is dumb, shitty in-joke explanations for all of this sort of stuff, which just makes it so, like, innocuous. But, like, the crazy thing is that, like, the thought of, like, fromage, pedophilia. Like, it's just insane to make these jumps.
Well,
jumps are what makes it insane.
Here's the thing. Where did all this start? It started on 4chan. Like, what is 4chan known for? Trolling. I genuinely think
child porn, to be fair.
That's true as well.
They're all fucking pedophiles.
But I strongly suspect that half of the people looking for these clues know it's a joke.
Yeah.
And half the people don't know it's a joke. And then there's a group of people who don't care either way. They think that it's just good for...
I think that ratio has changed over time, but yes.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who just realise it's just a good way of smearing people. And the more people you can get involved in it, the more credibility it gives it. The next email is the one from James Alefantis to John Podesta, which basically says, hello, some young lawyer friends are hosting an Obama fundraiser, etc., etc., etc. Also, I saw you were reading at Politics and Prose soon. What can we do afterwards? Would you like to have dinner at my place? There's no even code in that one. It's literally just to show that James Alefantis knows the Podestas. But unless, of course, you think that these people are suspicious, who gives a shit who they know? The following one, and this was the one that people made a lot of fuss about. It's a JPEG and it just says pizza, and it shows two Asian women and a child eating a pizza. And
this one got me. I wasn't sure what was going on there. That's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to send, right? I mean, fair game.
It is. No, it is. Without the context, it's completely strange. And it applies when he says nice, as John says, it doesn't get any better than this, that they're describing the women and the child in the picture. Like, as in, doesn't get any better than this, cool, I'd love to do it on them. That sort of expression. What it actually means is These are American journalists, Una Lee and Laura Ling, and the girl is Ura's daughter, Hannah. And the reason that they're saying that it doesn't get better than this is because this is the first photograph that was taken of those two women when they touched down in America after they'd been released from captivity in North Korea.
Oh my God.
Fuck off.
Yeah. So they were journalists that had got caught in North Korea and basically were imprisoned. And after
Are you serious?
No, seriously. And after a long and negotiation through Bill Clinton, they were released. And so that's
from Bill Clinton.
Yeah. So that's why the photo is going around this particular group of people. And that's why it doesn't get better than this, because they've successfully negotiated their release.
They use this to make a case for pedophilia,
yes,
for people who have been freed from oppression by Bill Clinton.
Yes,
I've never heard that.
Yeah,
I'm actually incensed by that.
It's horrible, isn't it? Like, but this is the point. It's
you fucking.
I know, man. I know.
Motherfuckers.
So I think Obama spent about $65,000 on taxpayers' money flying in pizzas and hot dogs from Chicago. Okay, that would be, well, it depends with this one, because the reason that this email had been flying around for ages, but nobody made a big deal out of it until the afternoon that Donald Trump was criticized in the press for spending nearly $6,000 on fast food for the Clemson Tigers football team. Off the back of that, this email was released. Now, there's several problems with this email, right? Okay. It's from Fred Burton to Don Kuykendall, and it's from 2009. These people don't work, they're Republicans, they don't work for Obama. They don't know this to be accurate. They're just spit-taking and trying to talk about stuff.
Really?
Yeah. Now, the initial sort of debunk that I did of this is basically, I found out a figure that basically says, if you want to make $100 from a person, you need to spend, say, $20 or whatever, like a political fundraiser. So basically, like, if you're aiming to say raise $500,000, your catering bill could be in that region of $65,000. Okay. Yeah. So I always took it that they just misinterpreted the entire bill as for hot dogs. It transpires that bill may never exist.
Really?
It's just an email between two people saying, I heard this happened.
Interesting.
Yeah. And it appears to be basically running interference against Donald Trump spending $6,000 on McDonald's for a football team. So,
well, which is embarrassing as fuck. I heard somewhere that it isn't unheard of that presidents will have food flown in for them from various destinations on the taxpayer's dime.
From their hometown, essentially.
From their hometowns, usually, in that sort of regard. And that was the thing that explained away that. But even then, I found, like, looking at that, I was like, but why is a hot dog from Chicago that fucking good?
Well, yeah.
I can explain this.
Oh,
yeah.
I can give you the context that's missing.
Tell me.
Because that's obviously the question. What's so special about a Chicago hot dog? The thing is, right, it's same with New York pizza and New York hot dogs. They're totally different in Chicago. Chicago has deep pan pizza.
They do, yes.
It's
great.
Chicago hot dogs are made of beef.
Oh.
They're beef frankfurters, and they have poppy seed buns.
Okay.
Okay.
It is just a flex from
that does make
Obama
sense.
to say, okay, you think your hot dogs are great. I'm going to fly in the hot dogs from Chicago, from my hometown, from the place that we get them from, and you'll see exactly how good Chicago hot dogs are.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. And another thing, like, let's say this $60,000 is an accurate number for hot dogs.
Yeah.
Okay. Trump spent $6,000 on one team. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is a fundraiser.
Room. Yeah.
Like, it all kind of makes sense if you put it in context.
Well, they've probably heightened it up a bit. It's probably, as I say, it should be a combination of that and the fact that basically that's not included your transportation costs and your waiters and all of that, etc., etc. That's the budget for it.
Exactly.
And to show for it, they've got hot dogs and pizzas and stuff like that. So this one was one that got a lot of sort of like traction, like where she's saying that we're not going to make it over tonight, so we're going to have to settle for the pasta that John gave us at Christmas. And this was sent in March. And a lot of people said, well, hang on, that's a red flag. He was eating pasta that was cooked in Christmas in March.
Yeah, no, I think freezers exist.
Yes.
Possible. However, as he's done previously in many other emails that we've seen, they obviously send out hampers.
Exactly, yeah.
I tell you what, the hamper thing is way more likely. And what's even more likely, which makes this even more ridiculous, is that chances are they didn't even eat the fucking pasta. They were just saying that to lunch.
Exactly,
and they're
going
to order something from Uber Eats or some shit. I mean, like, come on.
The final email is the one where basically they're saying, but walnut sauce for pasta? Please tell us, was this sauce actually very tasty? And people have used the code, which doesn't work again on this one, but basically they think it's to do with little girls. And Mary Podesta responded. She said, it's an amazing Liguerian dish made with crushed walnuts made into a paste. Stop being so California. And I looked it up because I thought, walnut pasta, that sounds revolting. Is that really a thing? Apparently, it's a massive thing.
Really?
Yeah. Google it. There's hundreds and hundreds of different walnut pasta sauces. Like, so apparently, it's not that strange at all, really.
I've had tortellini with walnut and cheese in it.
Oh, there you go. But again, you know, it transpires that there's actually sort of an explanation for these. The last two things that were strange were John Podesta holding up his hand with the 14 and the fish on it. And again, despite the Osiris and Hebrew and Adolf Hitler and blah, blah, blah explanations, the more sensible explanation was that he was advertising the 17 UN sustainability goals. And number 14 is about basically keeping water clean. Okay. And the symbol of it is a fish.
Nice.
It's just as straightforward as that. It's an old campaign photo where he was throwing his political weight behind a good cause.
Fair enough.
It's just as simple as that. And the last one, dear Mary, hope you and your family are well. Since John is no longer with this email address I have for him, will you please forward this thelema to John? Thelema has got favour written next to it. Now, again, that everyone goes, oh, well, Aleister Crowley, it must be that. There's no other possible explanation. But thelema, as you say, I think it's Greek. It means will, or it can mean favour or whatever. Who sent this email? John Demos. John Demos is apparently an historian who, ironically, wrote about witch hunts in America. And he's clearly quite an academic and a bit sort of flowery with his language and a bit flouncy and whatnot. And so he's just put thelema like that. Again, it's probably some sort of an in-joke or a reference to something. But again, it's not indicative that these are obviously Crowley and Satanists involved in paedophilia. So
there's reason behind it. There is some kind of substance behind it, because when you take these things on face value, as you displayed them earlier, they seem to work in this congruent nature to prove a certain narrative. But then you put these things in front of them, and it makes it very difficult to continue that narrative. Even if they stand in a bit of obscurity on their own, with the narrative broken, even the ones that are on their own, they still seem unlikely. It's hard to maintain this. Very hard.
Yeah, totally.
And that is a wrap for now. Join us next week as we continue down the Pizzagate rabbit hole. You can gain access to this entire series on day one of release by joining our Patreon for only $5 a month. Included in this package are 4 of Neil's books, my entire discography, early access to episodes, Patreon-only episodes, and a PDF of Headache Comics 4, courtesy of Nicholas C. Gray. You can also support us by subscribing, sharing, liking, or leaving a review wherever you are listening to us. And please follow us on Twitter @SomeDarePodcast. Thank you for listening.